Hey everyone, it's Stephen Moe from Seeds Podcast, and I'm just doing a few little videos about how I make the podcast because I thought it would be helpful to answer some of the questions I get. So in this one, I'm just going to be recording some of the intro to one of the episodes, and then I'm going to edit it using Audacity just to show you how I use the software and what it's like. So to start with, we've got to record the little audio excerpt that we'll then edit on the computer. So in a previous one I've shown this is the recorder I use, and you just have to hit it twice to get it recording. And I put on these so I can hear what I sound like when I'm recording. Alright, well welcome along everyone. I'm really glad you could join me on this episode as we get the chance to speak with Abdegani Ali and Osman Ahmed. Now this is a very unusual episode because normally I only record with one person, but in this case Abdi said that he had a friend who he was bringing along. So I said, well, why don't we just do a recording with both of you? And so that's what we've got here today. Here's an excerpt from that interview. Alright, so that's some of the intro that I'm going to do for that episode. And now we're going to splice that in to show you what it looks like when it becomes part of the episode in Audacity. Alright, so this is in the Audacity program, and you can see there there's multiple tracks here. So this is one, this is a second, and this is a third. And the way that you do things is that you get the file that you want. So this one was with Abdi and Osman, so I saved it down as a file that just came off of the chip, and I just drag it into the program. And we can move that over here. And then down here, so this is the audio file, so you can see sort of the sound that's going up, and I'm just going to cut it and move it up towards the top so that we can edit it easily. And the key thing is to get the audio levels kind of even across all of the different tracks. So this bit here, that's the whole file. That's the recording that I did of the interview. So you can see there, that's starting at after 5 minutes, and it goes till way over here. It's more than an hour and 5. So it's about an hour long, that interview. In Seeds, what I try to do is have a long form podcast. So that means that I'm not afraid of going, for more than 20 minutes, 30 minutes, trying to go a bit deeper with people. So this is the file that we just recorded and you heard me saying just before. And if we go down here, let's just play the intro just to show you the audios. So that's the music playing. So we're going to move the audio down a little bit for the music, so it's less noisy. And this is me talking. Entrepreneurs. We will listen to them reflect on their journeys and take time to dig deeper in order to better understand what really motivates their choices. Alright, so that's the intro bit that I've got in 2 files. So that's the music there, and that's the audio of me saying, "Welcome to Seeds, a show where we talk about purpose." So I'm obviously not saying that every time, it's just a little file that I paste in. And then this is what we recorded on the video before, so let's have a listen. To get it recording, I'm going to put on these so I can hear what I sound like when I'm recording. So we don't want that bit in, do we? So what we'll do is... Alright, well welcome along everyone. We'll just trim that out because that was the bit at the beginning just saying, okay, now we're going to hear it. So I just cut that out. I'm sure there's other ways to do this, but I'm just showing you my way of doing it. Alright, well welcome along everyone. I'm really glad you could join me on this episode. So that's the intro that we just heard before. And you probably noticed there was a little mistake I made, so I thought that was quite good actually, because I can show you how I deal with mistakes. So, well, why don't we just do So I said, why don't we just do a recording with both of you? And so that didn't come out quite right. So let's just hear that along. So I said, well, why don't we just do a recording with... So see that little bit there, that's the bit that didn't go quite right. So I said, well, why don't we just do So I want to get rid of that to be able to have it just continue on neatly there. So I just hit cut, and we get rid of it, and now it will all be together.
He was bringing along. So I said, why don't we just do
So you don't even notice the difference between the bit that I cut out, which was that bit, and that's just now gone, and it just sounds really smooth. So
Abdi said that he had a friend who he was bringing along. An excerpt from that interview.
So then we go, that's the bit that we want at the beginning. So we'll just cut that out of there, because what we need to do now is time it in with where the music finishes. So we want to have it kind of sequence over.
And what really motivates their choices.
So let's put it in here. We'll just drop it down there. So that should finish saying what really motivates their choices, and then we want it to jump down here to the next audio track and continue on with that little intro. And remember, over here, this is how you get the audio right. So you move that up and down to get the levels. So I'll just show you how that will sound.
And what really motivates their choices. All right, well, welcome along, everyone. I'm really glad you could join me on this episode as we get the chance to speak with
So see how it was quite low, but I just moved it right up to be able to get it sequencing in. And then we might just move it over a little bit so that it's quite a smooth transition.
What really motivates their choices. All right, well, welcome along, everyone. I'm really glad you could join me on this episode as we get the chance to speak with Abdigani Ali and Osman Ahmed. Now, this is a very unusual episode because normally
So that's it. And that is how you do the editing. And then obviously what I'll do is take a little excerpt from the interview and splice it in. And then I'll do a little more of an intro before we get into the interview and just get all these different tracks lined up so that they are in sequence. But yeah, so it's very straightforward, easy, and intuitive to use. I find Audacity is quite simple. And it's a free program as well. I'm sure there's paid software that you can pay for and use, but this is actually pretty good for a cheap alternative. And obviously you can put in multiple tracks like this, and then sometimes the one I did a 9-hour episode which had multiple people speaking all at different levels, so I had to put them in its different tracks and then adjusted so that it kind of sounded consistent across the whole of the thing. And then if anyone's interested, at the very end you can kind of zoom out here. So that's sort of the whole track, and at the very end I have this little bit of piano music at the end. So normally I put that as its own track at the bottom down here, and that sounds like this. And that little bit of piano is actually based on something that my great-grandfather wrote. So it's kind of special to me that in a way it's recognizing him in the podcast every single episode, that there's a little bit of music that he had composed back in the 1930s. So that's the origin of that. So I might do another video showing some more editing or how I do things, but hopefully that's been helpful. All right, well, that is it. That's a little introduction to Audacity and how I use it to create Seeds Podcast. I'm going to be posting a few more videos in the coming weeks and months about the process to create a podcast, because one of my intentions is to inspire other people, to show others that it's actually not that difficult to create a podcast. And if I can do it, then I'm sure that you can as well. I hope it's helpful. And if you enjoy this and what I'm trying to do with content, then check out some of the more than 100 episodes on Seeds Podcast. You can find it at theseeds.nz. Thanks for watching.